All right, so it's tax saving time, and here is our very special edition with Adhil Shetty, CEO and co-founder bankbazaar.com. Adhil, hi, good evening, and welcome to the Money Show. And you are our first guest for this very special segment that we're introducing today. And 31st March is just around the corner now. And today, the topic that I have with you is to save your money and save your taxes by planning for your retirement. That is via retirement mutual fund and via NPS. So just let's begin with the basics. NPS versus retirement mutual fund. How would you like to define both of these investment instruments where you get a tax benefit?
Yeah, great question, Kavita. So I think of NPS, and it's got a great regulator in the PFRDA, as a very structured retirement savings scheme. So typically, you're saving until you retire. At the age of 60, you get a lump sum. And after that, you start getting every year annual payout as an annuity. So it's very, very structured. Mutual fund, think of it as far more flexible. And ELSS might have a lock-in of 3 years. But after 3 years, you can sell it when you want. You can invest more when you want. So far more flexible. So sometimes people want that very structured saving, saying once I put it in, I want it there. I don't want to be tempted to take it out. Other people want flexibility. So I think each has its own role to play in pension planning.
So Adil, what happens, when you start putting money for tax saving purpose, a lot of time only tax saving becomes your agenda and your intention. While if you are an old tax regime person, a taxpayer, it's very important for you to make the best out of the instrument offered to you, which also save tax and can be also aligned to a specific goal. And here, if the goal is of retirement, it's very important for you to utilize NPS, PPF, and other products where you also get a tax benefit. Now, talking about retirement also is a very long-term goal. It's important for you to also participate in equity if at all you want that benefit of hedging inflation through any investment instrument. Now, as far as having equity component is concerned in retirement mutual fund and NPS, how would you like to explain that? In NPS, we have auto and active choice. We do have equity schemes, but we also have conservative schemes. Talking about retirement mutual funds, what kind of fund structures do these kind of investment instruments have?
Got it. So you raised a very important point, right? The first thing I'd like to say is even if you look purely from a return standpoint, right? Typically instruments which have a significant equity component, right? So you mentioned the active scheme in NPS active, up to 75% can be in equity until the age of 50, after which it starts coming down to 50%. ELSS typically is all equity, right? If you're talking about a retirement mutual fund, which is ELSS. So we find that any equity scheme, Kavita, which gives you this kind of return, which an ELSS, which NPS in equity significant contribution are giving, they're giving post-tax, right? Anything between 10 and 12%. I would say these are good returns. You're beating inflation irrespective of tax saving, because we'll come to tax saving next, right? Because there we get into the question of, are you on the old regime? Are you on the new regime? But the first point we want to make to your viewers is, if you're using a retirement mutual fund and ELSS, if you're using NPS, purely from the returns of 10 to 12% post-tax, it is a good instrument to look at from a long-term beating inflation perspective. That being said, now let's come to the second point, which is the tax benefit. Now, tax benefit gets a little complicated. Everyone should talk to their tax consultant. But we have the old regime, we have the new regime. In the old regime, right, a lot more deductions were available for investment in NPS, investment in an ELSS retirement mutual fund. In the new regime, those deductions are not there in most cases, except for a few. But happy to talk about that also, Kavita.
Yeah, so we'll just come on that. If you are a taxpayer as per the old tax regime, so under NPS, the total deduction amount is 2 lakhs, 80C and 80CCD combined.
That's right. So the number we said was 2 lakhs.
Yeah.
And you used to be able to save 62,400 if you're in the 30% tax bracket on 2 lakh. That is correct. Yes.
Adil, what also happens is people just, count in the aspect where they can save tax while putting in money. But then when you're redeeming, what's the tax implication in NPS?
Great question. So before I go to that, let me also say that there's a separate tax benefit under 80CCD2, which is a contribution by the employer to NPS, which can also be claimed in the tax filing. But let's park that for a minute. I think you asked the right question when you asked about the 2 lakhs and the potential 62,400 saving because of deduction in the old regime. Now let's talk about how it's taxed at retirement. So at retirement, Kavita, you can take 60% out as a one-time. That is tax exempt. So when you're 60 years, right, you take out 60% of your corpus and that you don't have to pay tax on. The remaining 40% you put into an annuity. And the reason the regulator's done it, and I think it's a good idea, is you don't want people to take out all money and either, have that money spent very quickly or that money not available for them as they grow old, right? Because at the end of the day, it's a pension scheme. So I believe, right, there is a rule the regulators put in, which is good, which is 40% of the NPS corpus has to go into an annuity. An annuity means it will pay you every year from then onwards that you're in a retired position. So 40% of your corpus has to go into that annuity scheme. So you, by design, right, will get that money over many, many years as an annuity payout.
And the money that you get as annuity or as pension is also taxed?
Yes, that is taxed. Great point. The money you get as annuity will be taxed on your prevailing tax bracket.
And what kind of annuity schemes are we talking about? Are they debt oriented? Are there any scope of a money growing over there because we are parking 40% from which we are getting a pension?
So I think today the schemes are quite sophisticated. So multiple options are available. I think everyone just needs to look into what is their appetite. Do they want to take more risk exposure, less risk exposure? So the schemes have become very sophisticated, Kavita, like you rightly pointed out with the active and the managed also. So I think everyone needs to look at these options individually and select what's best for them.
Let's focus on the retirement mutual fund now. Is there a lock-in of 5 years in these kind of mutual funds?
So, see, retirement mutual funds can be ELSS or non-ELSS.
Okay.
ELSS typically has a lock-in of 3 years.
Yeah.
So you can't do anything for 3 years. Post 3 years, right, you typically pay up to 1 lakh capital gains is exempt per year. Above 1 lakh, if you make capital gains on what you're selling, you pay a 10% long-term capital gains.
Okay. And talking about the structure of retirement mutual fund, are they similar to a regular mutual fund? Because obviously, diversification is a very crucial part of a mutual fund or a structure of a fund product as a product. But then talking about variety of schemes that come under mutual funds, equity, hybrid, all that is offered under retirement mutual funds?
Yes. Multiple options are offered. So you
Okay.
can go and look at an HDFC retirement mutual fund, or you can go and look at some other retirement mutual fund, and then you can look at the various options over there. So today, right, I think again, SEBI is the regulator over here. They've done a fabulous job, right, in saying that consumers are getting more and more transparent products. Consumers are getting products where they have flexibility and they can choose which way they want to go.
Any specific pros and cons do you have of NPS over retirement mutual fund or retirement mutual fund over NPS? Some points that you might want to highlight, because it's very important for you to diversify this particular goal also. Retirement is the most crucial financial goal that one must be aligning for themselves. And then what better way to also have these tax saving products in your portfolio? So which is better over what and on what basis?
See, Kavita, let's talk about what is the key differences. Now,
Sure.
better or worse, I think individual has to decide. In terms of lock-in, right, NPS has a longer lock-in. So this is until 60, until you retire. ELSS, Retirement Mutual Fund, has a 3-year lock-in. So there's a significant difference in lock-in. Now, some people want that discipline where, they save and they save long-term. Some people want the flexibility, but after 3 years, you can sell it, you can do what you want. So there's a difference in lock-in. Liquidity, right? Again, we spoke about this in detail with an NPS. You get 60% as one time on retirement. Keep in mind there are other premature withdrawal options, Kavita. So one again can go into details like saying after X number of years, you can take 25% of your NPS corpus out without having to pay tax. But without going into too much detail, right? The liquidity tends to be more structured. It's at retirement for NPS. For an ELSS retirement mutual fund, after 3 years, you can move. If it's not an ELSS, there might be an exit load. Exit load depends by scheme. It could be there for X number of months or X number of quarters. You need to take a look at it. Again, in terms of risks, I think both are flexible. So NPS we spoke about in the active option, you can go up to 75% equity. With an ELSS retirement mutual fund, you can go up to 100% equity. So potentially your returns could be higher, right? Because in one case it's 75, one case it's 100. So Kavita, I think first I would like to say that I think both are good products. I think anyone who's thinking and doing products like this is doing well for themselves. They're applying their mind. These products, especially when you go on the equity side, right? You are beating inflation. And the Indian index, Sensex, Nifty are great places to be in. So I think they're both good products. There are differences and really comes to choosing between how much lock-in you want, how much liquidity you want, whether you want 100% exposure or you're happy with 50 to 75%. So individuals can decide.
And, even if you are someone who is investing or who is saving tax as per the new tax regime, it becomes a very important part of financial planning to look at these products, even if you're the new tax regime taxpayer.
Yes, I think so, right?
Yeah,
So
right.
I think that the benefit of these products, and these products typically post-tax, Kavita, are giving, let's say, 11, 12% take home historically over the last 5, 10 years, especially if you go on the aggressive equity allocation. Now, that 11% post-tax, right, is very good. You can't make that kind of return even with the standard instruments that people use, like a fixed deposit savings account. These are good products to think of, even if you're in the new tax regime. In fact, if there's one thought I can leave your viewers with, is in the new tax regime, please consider using mutual funds, retirement schemes, ELSS, NPS. I think there is great value, right, in getting and accessing products which can beat inflation.
And a great way to align your financial goals and also solve the purpose of tax saving. Thank you so much, Adhil, for being on the show and helping our viewers with this today. Thank you.
Thank you, Kapita.
All right, on that note, let's slip into a quick break, but then post that we'll be having viewer queries. And if in case you also want to send across your question, you can do that on our WhatsApp number and our email ID. See you after this break.